Welcome to Every Single Journey, a family life original podcast for singles. My name is Becki. I'm a single girl in my 30s who is passionately pursuing this life God has given me. Join me as we navigate the season of singleness together. What if I ask her out? What if I tell him I'm interested? What if we get married? What if I'm single forever? I'm sure we all have some what if questions that either hinder or help us on our single journey. Joining us to discuss this today are
Becca. Hi, I'm from the events team here at Family Life, and I'm excited to be here today.
And
Jacques. I work in the IT department, and this is my first time doing anything like this.
welcome, guys. We're going to have some fun. Okay, what is one of your what ifs, and how has it affected your life? Jacques, take it away.
So the first what if that I wrote down, very similar to the one you posed in the introduction, is what if I go through life and never find anyone to share it with? So that's not even necessarily like not even finding a spouse. What if I get to the end of my life and I look back and I realize I was the only one in my life?
I love how you posed that question because I've had a similar thought, but I like the way you worded it of what if I'm single as in single and there's nobody in my life,
right.
Whether that be a romantic partnership or friendship or family or whatever that dynamic looks like. Because my mind has always gone to what if I'm single my entire life, as in just sticking to the romantic side of things. And there's so much more to that question because it's not just finding a partner, romantic partner in life. There's so many other good, solid relationships that we can have that I haven't even thought of. What if it's just me at the end of my life? And I'm not sure where to go with that thought because it's still like percolating in a sense.
Yeah, it's my other what if is like, because the other people around me, they're going to be going through life sharing it with someone, like my married friends, my friends who have girlfriends, my friends who have other friends that they spend a lot of time with. As a more antisocial kind of guy. Yeah, antisocial is the word for it. Sorry.
It's okay. We all have our things.
As a more antisocial kind of guy, like I don't usually spend a lot of time with people. I'm more reserved. I hang back and stick in the shadows. So, there is that question of if I go through my whole life doing that, where does that lead me? Where does that leave me at the end? Like what? Like, is that selfish? I don't want that to be selfish. It's not the kind of person I am.
I feel like that's hard to define because as a introverted person, I enjoy spending a lot of time by myself. If I'm in a group of people, I enjoy observing, just sitting and watching and enjoying what's happening just by physically being there. But that doesn't mean I have to say anything. I can enjoy the joke that two of my friends are having with each other and just laugh at it. I can enjoy the deep conversation that others are having and not necessarily contribute much and still thoroughly enjoy it. But at what point does it cross the line between being present in the moment and enjoying connection with other people and flip to the opposite side of that, of it being, like you mentioned, Jacques, more selfish or closed off as in, oh, I'm here, but I don't want to talk to anybody. Like, I want to keep all my walls up. I want this just to be me for my whole life. And is that what we're called to and to steward in our lives? Becca, any thoughts on that?
I feel like it's hard because when you think about what the Bible says about community, like we are called to be in community. So I think to the aspect of like looking back on your life and being like, who was in it? I think it is selfish if you look back and you say there's nobody there because we're not called to that. And that was like, that's making sure that you are happy and like you're content and like it's all about you. But like, and I don't think reaching out to other people and being in community is like, yes, it might be harder to do as an introvert or like in that like mindset of things.
No, I think you bring up a good point is we are called to be in community, and we're called to do life with one another. Like if we look back at Genesis, God put Adam here and all the animals, and then he realized Adam didn't have somebody like him, so he created Eve, and humankind as a race, as a population, was built and was formed to be in community. So that community may not look like a romantic partner. It might look like being single the rest of your life. That's totally fine. I think it depends on how we're stewarding that. We don't necessarily have to have a whole lot of people in our lives, but having people in our lives that we can encourage and lift up and draw from, and also they can do the same thing for us. Like, I think of when we're celebrating milestones in people's lives, or when we're helping somebody go through something rough. Like when life gets rough and gets hard, even as an introverted person, it is so nice when somebody climbs down in that pit with me and helps me walk through it. I may not be the most comfortable with that because it's really hard to share those deep parts, but at the same time, it's a benefit and it's a good thing, and we're called to community. So I think the point you're bringing up, Becca, is really good. Is yes, it can be very selfish to do that, and I think it's recognizing where we are currently at in our journey, and do we have people in our lives? You know, do we have family members in our lives? Do we have friends? Do we have coworkers? And maybe it's even just realizing that we have more people in our lives than what we realize. And
that's true.
If we have more people in our lives than what we realize, maybe it's then acting on that and letting them know how much we appreciate that, and just reminding ourselves, oh, yes, I am introverted or I am antisocial, so society writes this script for me, and therefore I don't have any friends. So I'm just going to claim that and walk in that. And then if you actually look at your life, you might realize, oh, I have more friends and more people in my life than I realize. And maybe if you look at your life and you're like, oh, I don't, I would challenge you to do kind of what I had to do a few years ago. Look at the people who are actively trying to be a part of your life. Because chances are there are probably people who are actively trying to reach out and trying to be a part of your life just because they want to be your friend. And we have to take the scary step of opening up and letting them in and getting to know them and walking through that. Might be just for a short season, might be you might make a lifelong friend. If it's somebody of the opposite sex, you might become friends, and you might suddenly find out, oh, I'm more interested in a romantic setting. You never know what can happen. But I think it's more of looking at where we're at and what community we have or don't have, and taking steps from there.
Definitely.
I think you're right about the vulnerability part of it. And I think that plays into just community in general, but also when it comes to relationships and singleness and being like, I think I might like this person. There is a point of vulnerability that has to happen in a relationship, both sides, but even in like community and friendships. And like sometimes it can be hard to be the person that wants to be vulnerable first. But like chances are, as somebody who can be extroverted at times, like when I become vulnerable with somebody, other people become more vulnerable back to me. And so if I can just take the first step to bridge the gap that is between a relationship, like chances are that other person, if they're already trying to be involved in your life, will also respond really positively to that. And I think that goes into if you like a guy or if you like a girl and you want to like be like, start small. Don't like dive into like your entire history right away or whatever.
Yeah,
but,
baby steps.
Baby steps, exactly. Like you can start being vulnerable, and like it can even like go to just as simple as like if you're having a conversation of like, how was your day or how was your weekend? Like if you had a hard moment in your weekend, but it wasn't like, you don't have to go into all the details, but like just expressing that, because like then that builds that connection, and slowly and surely that connection will build, and that could be either romantically or just in a really, really good friendship.
And I think that brings up a what if that I have is, what if I express to somebody that I'm interested in getting to know them with the intention of starting to date them? Like, is that okay for a female to do? Like, so much in the Christian culture we've heard, at least I've heard, that girls are meant to be pursued. We're not supposed to do the pursuing. And then recently I've been hearing and seeing a lot and reading a lot of, oh, well, you can, I think the term is drop the hanky, and I don't know how I feel about that term, but it exists. And I'm like, okay, well, that brings up a whole bunch of more what ifs. Like, okay, first off, this is scary enough. What if I tell him I'm interested? What if I tell him I think he's cute? What if I tell him whatever it is? And then he reacts doesn't feel the same way. Like, that could make a friendship awkward. So just like, what if? Like, how do I do that if I decide to do that? But also, what if? What does that lead to? I mean, if it leads to marriage, that's kind of another scary thought.
I say, I'm going to go from a girl's perspective first, kind of like,
okay.
Because it's the same question of like, there's so many opinions in the Christian culture specifically of like how women are supposed to like act. And I think that like, I know it's such a cliche way to start this, but just like be prayerful about it, because if you're doing it out of your selfish intent, your selfish desires, that's just never a good place to be starting to be like, I'm interested in you because like, I don't know, like be prayerful about it, and don't just do it to every guy that you come across that you think is cute. Because I think that's not what you're asked to do, because then you are just like playing the field and you're like, well, if I shoot 1,000 shots, I'm bound to make one of them. Like, that's probably not the best way to go about it. But I think that like it can start with like praying about it, getting to actually know the person, because a guy can be cute, but he can be a horrible person at the same time.
True.
And so it's helpful to like actually get to know the person. And I think that as a female, it is important to show interest, because in the day and age we're in, I don't mean this in an offensive way, and I don't blame guys, but guys are scared because women have there's a little bit more like feminism out there, and it's a little bit more like women power kind of feel. And it's like, can be intimidating, I think, to guys to go up to a girl having no idea if she's going to like them or not. But I think as a girl, part of it can just be engaging in conversations. Like if they're talking to you, directly talk back to them. Or if you have a genuine question for them, or you want to know how their weekend is, go up and like ask them. And that can be like super simple, but like I think that helps a guy, because some girls don't do that. And it's like, it's putting yourself in the path of that guy. And I don't think that is negating them pursuing you. I think that is, to a certain extent, making yourself available, like an option to say something. And I think also, I don't think that if it was me as a girl, I'm not going to ask a guy out on a first date. I'm not saying it's wrong. For me personally, just my personality, I would never, I can't do that. Like, that's just not who I am. But I also think part of it is like, I do think that like, if I'm getting to know a guy and he wants to hang out with me outside of the context we're in, or like just one-on-one, you should ask me, because I think that's the aspect of pursuing. But I know like in my experience, a guy I was talking to, we were talking, things were going really, really well. And I could tell that he wanted to like ask me out on a date, but he was like nervous and just didn't know how to do it because he wasn't sure if I was like as interested as he was. And like, I just kind of like help that conversation to come up, if that makes sense. Just like asking questions about like, hey, like, how do you think we're doing? Like, what's going on here? Like prompting it, but also like still making him lead through that conversation, if that makes sense.
What you brought up about how scary I'm imagining it would be for a guy, because as a girl, just thinking about asking a guy out is terrifying. And I'm like, nope, thank goodness I'm not a guy. I don't have to worry about that. Jacques, any thoughts on that?
No, Becca, I really like what you were saying about the making yourself like available and like getting to know the person before you come right out and ask them, you know, hey, would you like to pursue a romantic relationship together? I am a huge proponent of taking it slow. I think maybe almost to a detriment, but I'm a cautious person. I don't want to create any attachments that I think might be severed, possibly easily. So yeah, I definitely think take time to get to know people. if you find you're interested in someone, take a step back, analyze that, figure out why you're interested in them. If you think they're just like good looking, if you think they're cute, maybe look for other aspects of their personality that you might be attracted to. Like maybe they're a good person. Maybe you find that they're very compassionate. Maybe, I don't know, find something. But yeah, analyze why you're attracted to someone and then pray on it, honestly, and figure out if it's something you think is worth pursuing. Then get to know them. And then when you think you're in a spot where they would consider a question like that, go ahead and ask them.
And then what if they say no and you misread all the signs and now the girl or guy says, "Oh, I'm sorry you thought that. That's not, we're just friends. I wouldn't want that."
That's when I go home and I break out a quart of ice cream.
No, but I think that's so scary.
No, that's actually, that is terrifying.
Because it's possible.
The
and
prospect of that, but
is it worth it?
I think it is.
Why?
Because at the very least, you have grown as a person. You've gotten to know this person. The friendship isn't necessarily over just because they weren't romantically interested in you. You still theoretically have a friend. And in time, the awkwardness will likely fade. And you've grown as a person. You've learned something from this. You've put yourself out there, for lack of a better term. You've figured things out.
I think what I'm hearing a lot of too is you've overcome whatever the obstacle was in the way that was keeping you in the what if spiral.
Yes.
What if you fill in the blank? We all have our what ifs. What if, and then that stops. Like if you're like me, I start with the what ifs and then I just keep spiraling down in all the what ifs and then I get stuck in inaction and then here I am, just kind of doing nothing about it. Where if, like you said, Jacques, you ask the person out or you face that what if, whatever that what if is, you've either taken time to realize it's fear, it's lack of control, it's whatever is holding you back. And then you've taken the risk or that step of faith and actually done it. You're starting to overcome that portion of it because it's not just the what ifs and the questions that we spiral out on. There's actually something a little bit deeper there that is hindering us from that. And really that can affect more than our relationship status or our relationship with other people. It can affect a job opportunity or growth in a job. It can affect our everyday lives with goals that we have. So from what I'm hearing, it sounds like that's kind of what the core of it is, whatever the situation itself is. And then Becca, back to what you were asking, you were like, how do you react or respond or something to this effect of if they say no? So if I'm that person that's got that what if question, I've overcome the underlying problem that it is, and I've asked the question or I've taken the plunge and done whatever it is, and I'm met with rejection, and I need that quart of ice cream, but I also need to realize and recognize as much as it hurts and as much as it's a disappointment, it's not most of the time, I'm willing to say, if not all of the time, it's not personal like it feels. Like whenever I experience rejection, it feels deeply personal. And I need start searching my brain for what part of me is so messed up or so wrong or so unappealing that they would say no. And I have to remind myself it probably isn't that at all. It's just the simple fact that they're not interested and we can still be great friends and the awkwardness will fade. And if it was a true, genuine friendship. And so part of that for me is recognizing all of my feelings are going crazy. All of my emotions are going crazy. And what is the underlying truth there? Kind of like what is the underlying truth or the underlying fear of what's holding me back from pursuing that?
I think something that helps me in go ahead and take the step back. And I've heard it said before is rejection is God's protection. And like this rejection that you faced, yeah, it hurts. You can acknowledge all of that. But it's also God's protection because maybe that is your person, but right now it's not the time. Or that's not your person and God's protecting you from that. So when I turn it to look at it from like God's perspective and God is protecting me as his child, and chances are he's protecting that other person as his child as well. I'm like, all right, yeah, this is rejection. This hurts, but I am being protected by my Heavenly Father. I'm going to take it.
And there's times where I've even reminded myself of what that protection looks like because there are guys that I've been interested in that never pursued me or wasn't interested. And it's been years now. And I'm very thankful that never went any further than friendship and for that protection. Not because they're a horrible guy or anything, just because now that I know them more and I have more information, they're clearly not a good partner for me. Yeah. And it's like, thank you, Lord, for protecting me from what I didn't know I needed to be protected from.
I've actually never heard it that way, Becca. I really like that.
Another what if that I definitely feel is something you kind of brought up earlier. I was like, what if it does work out? Like,
yeah,
that's really scary to think of too. Cause like, I think sometimes it's more focused on the chance of getting rejected and that what if, but like, what if this works out? Like, what if we do get married? What if that is what happens? And well, that's really exciting to think about because it's kind of what you've prayed for and what you've wanted. I think it's really scary at the same time because now you're stepping into something that's completely unknown. Like chances are maybe you've dated somebody before, but dating this person is new and how they interact with you and you interact with their family and they interact with your family, like all different things. Like it's brand new territory to be walking into. And that's really scary. And I think that I want to just acknowledge that to an extent because I think that can hold you back too. Because as like a girl, sometimes you can be so scared of like, I want to know what the future holds. And obviously I know that I'm not supposed to, but I want to know that if I say yes to this date, that it's going to lead to marriage. Because if it doesn't, then it seems like what's the point in even trying?
You'd be going and making all of those connections with someone only to have to sever it back down to a friendship level.
Exactly. And so I want to acknowledge that. But I think like I've come to a point where I have to decide, and it's a choice, is it worth the risk or not? And because it's risky to stay where you're at, single, and chances are being single the rest of your life. Maybe that's risky. Going into this relationship is also risky. So like, you just got to choose which risk you want to go down. And I think that there's wisdom in that as well. I think that like, if you know your values and you are talking to a guy who's not a Christian or a girl who's not a Christian, then it's very clear to say no because you're a Christian. There's like those clear ones. But I think it's so hard sometimes when it's like, I just don't know. Like, I really like you. We have a lot of the same values, but like, I don't know for certain that this is going to work out. And I think that that's something I've struggled with for a long time, and that holds me back. And I liked what you said earlier too, Becki, about like knowing what that what if is and overcoming it. And like the what if is like, what if it does work out? Okay, well, now I'm going to go overcome it and I'm going to take a step towards that. And I know I've struggled because I'm like, how do I know what God wants me to do? How do I know this is the guy that God wants me to marry? Like, it's not written in the Bible anywhere. Like, how am I supposed to know? And I think that there are like the definite like biblical things that line up with what a godly man is and what a godly husband is and what you should look for. But something I heard recently that changed my perspective completely was this guy, and he was talking about when you're driving in a car and you have your GPS on. If you're going the right way, your GPS is not talking to you because you are going, like, you're not hearing like anything. You're going the right way. But if you take a wrong turn or you go somewhere you're not to, your GPS starts talking to you, screaming at you, and you have no idea where you're at. And I thought that was so good because I kind of think about that as this journey, this path of life and God. And sometimes if you're going down the right path, you're doing the right things, God's not always talking to you. Like, he's not telling you, good job, you're going the right way. Like, you're going the right way. So like, you're on the right path. But if you start making decisions or things that are against God's will and what God is asking you to do, he's going to make it pretty clear to you. You're going to start having the weird gut feeling things, or maybe something drastic happens in your life. And I really found that helpful because when making that decision, it feels like you want to like know for certain and God's saying yes, yes, yes. But sometimes God's silence can be a yes. And I think that was really helpful for me.
I really like that because my what ifs are actually kind of 2 in 1 because I'm 33. I have been single my entire life. I think I was in a talking stage with somebody once, and I say I think I was because I think that's what it was, but it was never really. Anyways, not on the point. So my what if, like flip-flops. What if I stay single my whole life? Okay, fine. I've been single for 33 years. Like, not much would change. What if I do start dating somebody, and what if we do get married? And that's a lot of change. I'm not opposed to change, but that's so outside of what I've known that it's just kind of a whole scary thing to even think about. And then they like start melding together. It's like, well, if I'm single, I'm going to make this decision. If I'm married, I'm going to make this decision. And then I just start getting in my own head. And then something that I've started to do is there's this song that I really like called What If by Cody Fry. I don't think he's a Christian artist. This is the only song I know by him. But it is a song that basically contemplates the what ifs. And it's, you know, what if I fall? But what if I fly? Like that's the contemplating going on in the song. And it's just nice because I can put that song on and it just gets me out of my own head. And it reminds me there are so many what ifs on both sides. There's the what if with the fear and the rejection and the what if it goes wrong. And then there's the what if of what if it goes right. And I think really that's the bigger what if I'm battling is what if it goes wrong or what if it goes right with whatever path I choose to be on. And it's just a reminder that I'm not in control. I don't know the future as much as I would like to know the future, but I trust and I know and I rely on a God who does and who has it planned for me. And so if I can get out of being stuck in my mind enough to realize I'm just a person doing life and God's got it and just rely on that, it helps so much.
That reminds me too of a song by Matthew West called What Ifs. And it's just talking about like, do you want to get to the end of your life still having all of those what ifs? Or do you want to do something about it?
Ooh, that's really good.
Like, that's kind of at the end of the day what it's going to come down to. And that challenges me too.
So I believe you kind of touched on this earlier, Becki, about the what ifs. Is I think it's important to recognize that they're just fears. And fear ultimately comes from the enemy. And as Christians, we have the power to call upon Jesus to fight the enemy for us. Your what ifs that are just fears are fears about the future that haven't happened yet or may not even come to pass. You may find someone. It may work out. Like you may have a happy life with them. So because it's nothing you can control, it's fear over the future, don't let it affect your life in the present. God is going to work everything for his good. So even if life doesn't work out like you planned, even if something, goes awry, you can have peace that God is using your circumstances to prepare you for something else or to work in someone else's life.
I think it's a beautiful way to wrap it up is we all have what ifs that ultimately come from a place of fear or doubt or insecurity. And once we can recognize what that is, we can start addressing it to then overcome the what ifs, all while realizing God's got the future in his hand and he's got his best for us. And if we are trusting him and following him and doing our best to attack those things that scare us and face those fears and ask those what if questions, God's got it figured out and it will all work out for his glory and his good and our best. And we just keep walking and pursuing this journey through singleness, whether that is till we see Jesus face to face or until we meet somebody and walk that path of marriage and what God has for us there. Thanks for listening to episode 24 of Every Single Journey. If you've liked what you've heard, click the subscribe button to be notified when future episodes are available. You can also share this podcast on your social media pages so others can be encouraged too. If you're looking for more faith-based content like this, be sure to check out Family Life's other original podcasts, including If That Makes Sense, 10 Minutes With, You Can't Say That on Christian Radio, Therese Talk, and the Parable Podcast. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Your financial gifts make podcasts like this possible as we seek to share the hope we have in Jesus. You can find out more on our website at familylife.org.